How are you doing, folks? This is Pablo speaking. Welcome back to another English podcast. With this one, I would like to point out how many amazing people you can meet on your SWPS journey, even during pandemic situation. Joining by my colleague from the English classes, Łukasz, will tell us a little more about computer security. What are the dangers, how to avoid them, or even if we cross path with them, how to protect ourselves and our data. How are you, Łukasz?
Hey, hello everybody. I'm fine, thank you. About yourself, guys?
I bet everybody is all right. So tell me, what exactly are you doing?
Right. Currently, I'm working for one of the American companies. I'm actually a senior threat architect. I'm also threat hunting lead for entire EMEA and Americas in threat hunting.
I gotta say, Łukasz, that sounds really interesting, but tell us a little more about your path. So how did you end up with this kind of work? Was it your target all along?
Wow, so that's a pretty long story, to be honest, because I actually started my career with Commodore 64 and Atari, like long time ago. And then I was working for Polish governmental units, such as Ministry of Finance. And then I started to look for more advanced jobs, more, related to technical things, more advanced in things that I would like to do in the future. So I was working for multiple companies such as Lufthansa, such as other companies worldwide. Then I jumped into roles for international organizations such as NATO or European Union. Yeah, and then now I'm working for other private companies.
Well, saying that this is pretty interesting is like not saying anything at all. Tell us a little more about your field of expertise, please.
Right, so my field of expertise is related to hunting for threats. Whenever we talk about different cybersecurity threats that you can see nowadays coming up every single day in news, this is actually something that I'm taking care of. I'm trying to find out and cooperate with customers in different ways to track and to identify different threats, different cyber attacks, and mitigate them as much as possible. The other thing is I'm also trying to create entire process implementation of different frameworks that allow us to mitigate things, mitigate threats, to identify different cyber types of attacks.
There has to be more, right?
Right, and also I'm dealing with threat intelligence, with architecture, design, and implementation and management in terms of threat intelligence. I'm also trying to cooperate with customers, providing them different types of information, how to defend, how to actively and proactively work with things they have seen in their network that might be potentially malicious. Also working with different customers worldwide that are providing different services that we are able to detect things. Services that are cooperating with threat intelligence services, that are cooperating with different companies, providing open source intelligence tools, different techniques, different design, and different types of implementation that might be used in detecting different threats all over the world. I'm also dealing with security adversaries, providing sometimes webinars, sometimes trainings in modern and advanced detection techniques, and also sharing the knowledge about that.
That's quite a lot of stuff to take care of, but let's get back to the topic. So, how can you describe cybersecurity?
Well, cybersecurity is this kind of area of internet, of computers, everything that is related to the modern mobile devices or the internet connections, applications, everything that's behind this entire digital world that is letting us to work with different areas such as banking, such as communities, such as social networking. And cybersecurity that is behind all of that is trying to protect each one of us against typical attacks, either targeted or not targeted. And that's what actually cybersecurity is about. And keeping everything up to date, provide the proper information, how to work with applications, how to store your passwords, how to create passwords, how to use different authentication methodologies, how to protect either regular users or even corporation users against particular types of attacks.
Thank you. And is it possible to completely protect yourself from those kind of attacks?
Yes. Well, yes and no, I would say. I think the most important thing to keep in mind is the common sense. First of all, you really have to take care of your device. You really have to think of your device as something that is holding entire identity of either yourself or maybe also your spouse or your entire family. That's the very important thing. The other thing is also it is not only related to keeping your applications or devices all the time up to date, but also being entirely aware of things that might happen behind all of that. So that this is just like a device that is used to attack particular users. In this case, maybe yourself, maybe myself. Yeah, I think that's what I can say about that.
All right, but there is also one more thing. There are those well-secured applications, like, for example, bank application or maybe money exchange one. So how it is that even with those kind of top-notch security levels, the hackers get access anyway to your personal data?
Right. It is all goes down to a human factor. So you can have a very well-secured application, well-secured mobile phone, really well-secured device such as laptop or any other type of desktop computer, whatever it is. But when it comes to someone who is willing to attack you, to do something bad to you or to your family members or to your anyone, this is it actually goes down to the human factor. As long as your availability, or maybe I should say your activity, is well known to the others, this is something that someone else can use this particular thing against yourself as well.
Oh yeah, the human factor. So if it comes for the human, I gotta say that it has to be some kind of psychology involved, right? Something like social hacking, maybe?
Yes, it is. Social hacking, or actually human hacking, so to say, is actually typical psychological term, and it is used widely. Yes, indeed. Things like pretexting, or things such as using different psychological methodologies known from Cialdini or other known authors, might be used against users. I mean, against yourself, against myself, against other people as well. Yes, indeed.
Yeah, and there is also one thing that the people are losing their attention. I mean, they are stop being careful because the lives go faster and faster. For example, one day I received the SMS from the unknown number that looked like the one you get from the postal services saying that today is the day my package will be delivered. Click to track it. Gotta say, it was pretty convincing, but unfortunately for the frauds, I wasn't waiting for anything at the moment. What would happen if I clicked that link? Can you tell me?
Right. I can just guess right now. There's a lot of different types of attacks similar to that one, but most probably it will ask you to download particular application, or maybe particular PDF file, or maybe Word or Excel file that will have embedded malicious code into it, and based on that, this particular file will just start downloading additional level of Well, this particular application would actually start tracking your mobile phone or your device, such as laptop or desktop computer, and will start sending this kind of information to the attacker. This might be, for example, your copy-paste memory that you are using, for example, for your passwords. This might be additional information from the browser that you are using at the moment. And I guess this is something that is crucial for all of us to keep secret and to keep far away from like third-party eyes, from someone looking at you behind at your back all the time. I think this is the most important case over here.
Yeah, so that was the one that is based on our perception. We can look into it or maybe just click fast through it.
Yes, so it's pretty important to verify whenever you receive any type of link, such as one that you talked about before a minute. It's always important to verify if the address provided is correct. You can verify that over the internet services, such as Aristotle, for example. But you can also use, again, common sense. Verify if particular language used in the message that you're receiving, or maybe the URL, I mean the website link, is also correct. If you are just going to, if you will start Googling that to verify if particular URL is actually the one that is pointing to that company that you're receiving your text message from. As this might be also tricked somehow, it might be crafted and might have additional links pointing you to malicious websites.
Yeah, I have even example from yesterday when I was casually browsing my Facebook page, and then I noticed the post from the popular store in Poland called Pepco, with this kind of the lottery,
right,
when you have to like and share the post, and maybe if you win, they will text you with some kind of link or something. That it looks fishy from the beginning because the page has 500 likes when the original one has 1 million, and also there was something not right with the fan page name because it has bold letters. So probably if I didn't take time to actually check it, I just go and take part into the lottery. So yeah, I think those not kind of taking attention to the things. What are the other kind of mistakes that people usually make online?
Right. So again, verification of website links that you are receiving, verification of email addresses that you are receiving emails from, the pretty known Nigerian scam that you are receiving information from someone from outside of the country telling you that he has some huge amount of money to provide, but you have to first pay a fee to send that money to your account. So that's another thing. Another thing that you might be not entirely aware of is the name of the website, I mean the URL, or so to say, the website address. It may also have additional characters that are not entirely the characters. And what I'm talking about is something called punicode, meaning that, for example, letter A or character A might not be entirely character named A. It might be actually sign that looks like letter A, but it's not that. And in this case, whenever this particular website address is registered and is exact copy of similar website that is entirely legitimate, then it will actually trick you to click on some links to provide some additional information about yourself, your private data, and this may lead to either identity theft or it might lead you to provide additional information that you would like to keep in secret.
I can't even imagine doing such a thing, but tell me, because those are not the only way to steal your data. What are the others?
No, there's multiple different ways to trick people, to trick companies, corporations into doing things that they don't actually want to do. So it's identity theft, it's data stealing, it's also getting into particular networks, into even private networks. The most important thing to keep in mind is most of those attacks are not targeted. So you really have to understand that this is like most of the time automated tool or people that are sitting behind all that, they are just spreading this particular application or tool that is doing things unintentionally. It is just scanning entire network and looks for particular gaps, particular vulnerabilities, particular threats that might be used against users. And if something is found, it will be automatically used against those users.
Well, so I have to say that there are plenty of things that we have to be careful from in the internet or even using just normally our devices. So please tell me, because you said that you used or you are still teaching the people all these kind of cybersecurity stuff. Could you tell us some of the advice for all of those that just casually using their phones, their internet?
The first and foremost important thing is to keep your software always up to date. Never try to work on older applications or older software, whatever it is. It's really important that applications nowadays are sending information to the users about new updates every couple of weeks at least. Some of them are doing that even every single day. It's really important to keep that in mind. Try to keep the automated updates on your device all the time. Whenever you are using any kind of a web browser, try to keep it up to date all the time as well. Whenever you do something like browsing the websites that uses Java or Flash, disable that. Don't use this. These are pretty old and outdated methods to work with websites or, embedded tools into it. So don't use it at all. Don't use it at all. Specifically, Flash is something that is nowadays completely, it should be actually forgotten completely. The other thing is try to always use antivirus protection, firewalls. Some of those antivirus applications are sent or sold with additional firewall and VPN as bundle. If it's possible, buy things like that. Try to protect not only your own devices, but if you have a family, if you're working and or living with someone else at your house, please try to keep them updated all the time as well with these kind of things like updated applications with these kind of tools. Try to use strong passwords, and whenever you use strong passwords, try to have for each account, try to have a different passwords and as strong as possible. And if you would like to store the passwords, as they might be hard to remind, use password storage applications. There are some applications called password managers, and I think they're really useful, they're really easy to use, and they are really helpful. Whenever it's possible, try to use two-factor authentication. You can download applications, either Google Authenticator or Microsoft Authenticator. Most of the accounts, modern accounts, allow you to use two-factor authentication, so it doesn't work only with your password, but also with that particular one-time generated code to log into your account. It works also for banking accounts. Modern banking accounts are enforcing this type of authentication all the time. Try to keep in secret your personal identification all the time. Do not expose this kind of information to anybody else. And try to learn a bit more about phishing scams, about things that might be used against yourself, like emails, like text messages on your mobile phones, such as strange phone calls, things like that.
All right. One question about this internet anonymity, because I had a lot of this advertisement about the VPN program, you know, the one that hides your IP address and make you like you browsing from another country. What can you say about those? Are they safe to use?
I guess so. Wouldn't recommend using VPN for everything, but for some services that you would like to use, yes. And the most important thing is use VPN every time you're outside of your home, of your house, or any type of a place that you're living in. it's really important to be aware of that. Most of the wireless networks that you are not working with on a daily basis might be something that is created for the purpose, and the purpose might be just to track your wireless device, to get information that is going through that device, sniff that particular information, and use this against yourself. That is actually the main reason the VPNs are so important right now, and might be treated as pretty protected ways of working with internet connections.
Okay, so yeah, this is a good one, because for me, for example, I had no idea that the places like, I don't know, free McDonald's Wi-Fi or maybe public boulevard,
Yeah.
those are kind of the one that can cause the danger. I mean, whoa.
Yes, and most of the time those wireless networks are wide open to the world, so anybody can connect to it without, sometimes even without a password, and sometimes password is really weak. Most of the time, whenever you have a particular wireless network name called SSID, the password is most of the time the same as the SSID. So in this case, anybody can connect to that network, and anybody can see what actually happens in that network, can actually see what kind of packets, what kind of information is going through that network, and can actually save that information to use this against particular users in the future.
Okay, so are you trying actually to say that we're still living in the times that people, of course I don't want to offend anyone, but still use their like full name and birth date as the password? Really?
Yes, and I think it was November 2020 that I saw the report from one of the biggest cybersecurity companies showing information on typical passwords used worldwide, and also typical passwords used in different countries. And well, yeah, it's still something that is just like a top of the top, right? Yes.
All right, and you mentioned that you were working both in Poland and abroad. So could you tell me, are there any type of the threats that are more common in our country, or are those just normal worldwide, both the same?
Well, I mostly work for customers outside of the country. So I'm working for European customers, but most of them are located in US, Canada, Singapore, Australia, and Japan. Those are the areas that I'm responsible for. And talking about threats, well, I work for corporate customers. Most of threats I see nowadays are related to ransomware. So the type of malicious activity that encrypts entirely the network and then enforces a particular corporation to pay a fee or actually to pay a ransom to receive that information, such as password, or just decrypt that what was actually encrypted before. The other activity is data theft. Recently, we had a pretty big breach, or actually activity in the network called Hafnium, which was related to Microsoft Office package called Outlook. And it was actually related to stealing data from mail agents, or actually mail applications. This is also data breach, because it actually leads to data leakage, to provide most of the time confidential information to third authorities that are not supposed to see that information. Yeah, so this is well, variety of threats is really huge, and I'm not entirely sure I'm able to describe all of them. But yeah, those are the most common, I guess.
All right. Well, I guess our awareness of the problem is much wider now. We talk about the places that you should avoid with your Wi-Fi, or the tools that you can acquire yourself. Yes, Łukasz, you mentioned about the stuff that we can pay to extend our protection, but let's assume that we don't want to pay. Do you have something to recommend, or are we completely lost?
If you're using any type of antivirus applications, it might be also a free antivirus that is available worldwide. well, you can actually download it like Avast or other type of antiviruses. Most of them have additional function that also tracks the browsers and the website links that you're tracking. Also, when you're receiving any type of emails, you can install additional plugins into your email applications that are tracking particular tracking email addresses that you're receiving messages from. And also be very cautious when it comes to checking your spam folder, because most of the time things located over there are at least malicious.
All right, so let's talk about the money, because it seems that cybercrime is the pretty big business, and isn't that easier from the normal crime? I mean, for example, if you are the robber, you just go to someone's house to, I don't know, steal their car. The risk is pretty much higher because you are on the spot. Cybercrime, I guess, you can do from the other edge of the world.
Oh, yes, I guess so. Whenever there's something bad happening to someone else, it is most of the time it is related to the money. When it comes to the money for hackers, well, yes, some of them are well organized crime groups. Some of them are actually nation-state sponsored, such as Russian groups or North Korean groups, sometimes even Iranian groups. We used to call them APTs most of the time. It most of the time goes to tracking particular groups of people trying to install applications that will persist in the networks. So APT stands for Advanced Persistent Threat, and most of the time we talk about something really advanced. But when and most of the time, it's not only about the money, but also about politics, about power, and knowledge, which is also pretty, I guess, wealthy nowadays. The other part of it is ransomware. When particular crime groups are just sending applications that are encrypting entire network and forcing you to pay ransom to decrypt it. And most of the time, they want to have that particular ransom paid in bitcoins. And looking at the bitcoins now and the prices, sometimes it gets completely mad. I mean, the prices and I think the most known attack was last year. I think it was either July or August. It was related to one of the French companies, also one of the Norwegians, pretty known company. There's a big money behind all of that, yes.
Oh yeah, the cryptocurrencies is another big subject because, for the first, they are worth so much. And also, if someone wants to steal our money from our bank account, they will have to avoid or get it through all these bank protections. And with the cryptocurrencies, this is not the factor, right?
Yes, that's the main case here, yes, indeed.
All right, but the cryptocurrencies are actually the most advanced stuff. Let's get back to our own playground. How can you describe or how can you judge the knowledge of the common user? I mean, are there concern about all this stuff or just don't care?
Looking back at my experience with regular users, I would say most of them are not entirely aware of what's going on. If we talk about regular users, like kids or other people just using mobile phones or their devices such as laptops, just to communicate over the internet using social networks. They don't care about things that happens over there. They don't care about information they are sharing. They don't care about pictures they are posting onto the Facebook, or to Twitter or to Instagram. There's a lot of users don't thinking about this kind of information that might be exposed and later on used against them. For example, by stalkers. Or maybe by other people that are not entirely nice to us. And I would say people are not aware of that, but thankfully it is better than it was a couple of years ago. And I think it's related to to the way media right now works with this kind of information about particular activities that you can see, like advertisements that you can see over the TV right now.
Okay, so in conclusion, we just need something or someone to spread awareness and knowledge because, safety first, right? And being safe is one of the most important things in our life. And if we spend most of the life in the internet, being cyber safe is also pretty important.
I think so. I mean, knowledge sharing and informing all the time, like giving this kind of information on every single aspect of your life, sending information to your mailboxes, to track what's going on TV, inform people in any way, to provide them information on what kind of things might happen. I see a lot of campaigns, social campaigns provided by banks and other like governmental units as well. I think I saw a couple of them a few weeks ago, talking about things that might happen to your account, to your mobile phone, to your mobile banking as well. This is something that should happen all the time, and people should be aware of that.
Yeah, but unfortunately, I think this is involved with how the media works. Because, when we have some kind of huge data breach that all of the world news are speaking about, then we get this advertisement, we get this knowledge, we get the spread of the awareness. But when everything is all right, we just get our, normal news feed. This shouldn't be like that.
Yeah, that's most of the time. We have a saying in IT world that people are, we have two kinds of people. These people that are doing backups and these people that are going to do the backups in the future. So that's the main case over here. Whenever something happens, everybody gets completely crazy about that. Talk about things on media. You can see things on internet. And any kind of media that you can actually imagine of. But when nothing happens, people tend to believe that everything is okay and everything is fine. They are well secured. But the thing is that you really have to be all the time in that either alert state all the time on a daily basis. When you leave your house, try to be entirely aware of the outside world that something might happen.
True, but here comes the power of the free media. You already proved, Łukasz, that you are a grandmaster of the cybersecurity. So if someone got interested in the things you were talking about, could you recommend some kind of books or movies that you get inspired from?
Right, yes. There's actually a huge amount of books and huge amount of movies you can watch. I think a pretty nice movie that I could recommend right now would be Mr. Robot. I mean the series. There's a lot of really nice things described over there, and it actually shows different ways how to breach security of corporations, and this also pretty similar things might be used also against the regular users. The other movie is. I think it's a German movie that I saw a couple of years ago. You Can Be Anyone. I think it was the title. I'm not sure right now. But it's a German movie talking about... and that's actually, I think it's based partially on a true story. And this might be also a good point to see. Also, all the documentaries about data breaches or things that happens all the time, like... A Social Dilemma, that is really nice to watch. It will actually tell you what kind of information is taken out of your from your social media and where is it actually sent. And about books, I think Kevin Mitnick, one of the latest books, The Art of Invisibility, that talks a lot about actually how to protect yourself against things that happens in the internet, how to stay invisible for either huge corporations that are trying to get your information and sell that somewhere else, or maybe to keep entirely invisible for people trying to track you and maybe do something bad to you.
Mr. Mitnick was the hacker himself, right?
Yes, he was actually a hacker like back in 80s. Then he spent some time in jail, and then he became a cybersecurity consultant, well-known consultant. Yes, indeed.
All right. Anything else?
Well, I think there's a lot more books. One of them is also we have also some people on our Polish environment, and the guy named Michał Zalewski. I don't know if our listeners are entirely aware of that person, but he wrote a couple of books. One of the best books I read was The Tangled Web. It's actually a guide to secure modern web applications, and it's actually a technical book. But even if you will go through that book, you probably will understand why it is really important to keep that things that you're doing over the internet secret, and at least secured as much as possible on a particular like personal level.
You know, now when I think about it, when you learn all these kind of defense system, or maybe how to find the holes in them, you get closer a little bit to become hacker yourself. You know, like join the dark side, because you have the knowledge and let's say power to actually fight them.
Yes, I guess so. Whenever you start to learn things like how to break the security of particular applications or web browsers or websites, it will also give you some kind of overview on things that you might think of as a next level of security whenever it comes to work with the network on your level. Yes, indeed.
All right, and speaking of, the internet has their own dark side as well. Those are called the dark web, deep web, something like this.
Yes. Well, there's a deep web or there's a darknet, yes, indeed.
And those are not the same.
No, those are not the same. The deep web is something that is behind of the regular websites that you can see. So deep web might be all those services provided by different corporations that you work with, or you can log in through to get some additional information about, well, anything, practically everything. And the darknet is actually behind something. Most of the time it is related to Tor network, but there's actually a lot of other networks right now that exist. But the most known is Tor. This is actually onion routing network, and it actually goes to kind of an encapsulation of packets that are sent over the internet. It's a purely technical term, so I don't want to dive into it right now. But this is something that keeps the network connected, internet connected between users. So it is not possible to disable that particular network, and it's actually used right now to spread information, spread malicious applications, or maybe some even pornography and things like that. So like crime things, and you can also buy services over there. Yes, so it's a really huge topic, and I'm not sure we have a lot of time to talk about that right now.
Unfortunately, no, but let us know if you'd like to hear it in the next month podcast. I think Łukasz will be more than happy to tell us more, right?
Sure.
So you have all this stuff on your head, and now you also started to study psychology.
Yes.
Is it because you wanted to understand better this human factor, or is it just a hobby?
I think both of that. I was interested in psychology for a very long time, to be honest. In the past, I was reading a lot of books about transpersonal psychology. That was actually the point that I thought this might be a really interesting. But I never thought about studying psychology, and I actually was studying, and I was doing a lot of other things, and mostly related to technical things. And psychology came up last year. I decided to go for it because I really wanted to have additional level of proficiency in managing the people, managing the teams, and I thought this might be a really good point to start it.
And how do you like it so far?
Oh, it's great. I'm really I'm really surprised how good is it, and I really like that. I mean, the level of knowledge that I received by now, even if it's not entirely a year right now, I think it's just like huge. I love it. I really love it.
All right, that's great to hear. I hope it will stay that way. We will have to wrap it up. So, do you have like the final words for our community? What would you like to add?
Yeah, I think like 2 words: stay focused, I guess.
Okay, thank you very much, Łukasz. It was great to have you here. I hope we will hear you out in the next one.
Thank you very much. Same to you.
So stay focused and safe. Take care, you guys.
Take care. Bye-bye.